Welcome everyone to Already Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Star Trek The Next Generation, Season 5, Episode 26. It's called Time's Arrow. So full spoilers for the episode. And it is the season finale of the season. And despite not naming it as such, they have once again ended with a two-parter. Or the first half of a two-parter, I should say.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, most definitely this time.
Yeah. I mean, because you asked last time, and I'm like, no, it doesn't say part one, and it doesn't. I mean, the next episode, I presume, is just titled something different, but it ends with a to be continued, and I kind of knew it was going to. Like, it got about 2/3 through, and I felt like I was just sitting thinking, this doesn't feel like they've got time to wrap all this up remotely. No. So,
I know. Which means this will probably be a shorter discussion than usual because there's no resolution to anything.
Yeah. Obviously, there's some theorizing to do. There's some thoughts on like what they've done here, but by and large, I think it's a fun episode, though.
I do as well. I enjoyed it. Definitely interested to see the second half.
It does. It's so funny. Like, so we did Inner Light last time, and that was oddly kind of relevant to some things that the new season of Picard's doing. This episode also has something that it was impossible not to think about because of the new season of Picard. Not because the new season of Picard references this in any way or has any even thematic links to it. But the problem is that in the new season of Picard, when they're in 2024, basically present day, we see Guinan in 2024, present day. And it ain't Whoopi Goldberg who's playing young Guinan.
Is it supposed to be like this version of Guinan, like you know, not a time travel thing, but just, you know, her living...
Yes, as far as I know at this point, yes, it's just meant to be. This is her, you know, a century or so later.
Yeah,
and you know, obviously there's some inconsistencies there. Like, I'm not blaming them, right? Obviously, actors get older. You know, there's no way of dealing with it. But it's just kind of funny now that we've had time travel now in Next Gen that goes further back than that, and it's still Whoopi Goldberg. So it's just a bit weird. It's just a bit weird. Have to let it go, but. Was hard not to think about it. And it's not this episode's fault. It's Picard's fault for doing it again, despite the fact that...
And even that, it's not really its fault for recap, because it's just what you gotta do, right?
Yeah, you could get around it. But hey, whatever. So, yeah, there's time travel in this episode, but it doesn't go straight to the time travel. I think when we read the description last time, we assumed it was going to like jump to that quite quickly. It actually has quite a bit of build-up that revolves more around the fear of Data's death, which I did not see coming, and it actually gave it a bit of suspense, bit of drama, adds a bit of stakes to what's going on, because, I mean, obviously, we know Data's going to be fine, because we've got 2 more seasons, and we've got movies and stuff to go. We know that he's going to be okay, but when you watch this, and it's a season finale, you think, oh, maybe they'll kill off a character.
Maybe. Yeah, it's definitely within the realms of possibility, as, you know, as this was airing, that, yeah, sure, why not? I think we said this... If it was last season or the season before, I think we were talking about Worf in a similar situation. Where it's like, well, I mean, there's no... other than future knowledge, there's no real reason why not, you know, in the moment, and it plays it as such.
Yeah, it's... I mean, obviously, occasionally you get a random death by puddle, but otherwise, by and large, main cast members, it tends to be season finales or big, prominent episodes where they'll do this kind of thing. But... yeah. So yeah, there's basically evidence to suggest in like old artifacts from towards the end of the 19th century. Sorry, I had to think about that there for a second. Towards the end of the 19th century, that there was aliens possibly on Earth. You know, because it's like
basically just think of the meme, the aliens guy. That's this episode.
Yeah, because Picard and that go down. And like, why'd you call in the Enterprise for this? It doesn't seem like, you know. There's an old pistol from, you know, 1890 or whatever.
Interesting, sure, but come on.
Yeah. Is it, well, this is a strange thing. There's readings here of materials and elements that do not naturally occur in any way on Earth. Like, something else is here. There's something else going on. But the final thing they show them, which they probably should have showed them first, since it was you know, it would have got them interested right away.
They buried the lead.
Yes, as they say. But it's Data's head. Although my first thought was, is that Laura's head? But they answered that quite quick. Picard asks the same. Me and Picard, we think alike. Great minds, all that. Yeah,
I do appreciate that they're obviously aware enough that, hey, viewers are gonna think of this, so let's come up with something, because they do just pull like, here's a random reason that we pulled out of our ass and I'll be like, but it's fine. It's more just about the fact they addressed it.
Yeah. Which is totally fine, because then obviously once Data confirms under no uncertain terms this is definitely Data's head, because of something serial number something.
They use an L model instead of an R model.
Aye, whatever that means. But once they have this knowledge, like, a lot of the first chunk of the episode is then about the fact that Geordi and Riker and the others have a hard time dealing with the fact that Data's going to die someday. And honestly, part of what makes this episode so interesting, before we even get to the time travel stuff, is just the variety of those reactions and how it differs from Data himself. When Geordi asks Data about it, Data says it's actually kind of relieving that, much like a human, I will eventually one day die. I actually got a good laugh out of this scene, because when Geordi's asking him questions about how he felt about things, and Data says, well, all my friends, I would outlive them all, but then I'd make new friends. And Geordi says, yeah, I suppose you would. He's like, and then they'll die, and I'll outlive them too. That really made me laugh for some reason.
Well, that's quite funny. Geordi's not taking it well. There's a scene where Troy likens it to, okay, fine, now your friend has a terminal illness, and it's obviously, they're all assuming it's going to happen soon just because they're on this mission now, with good reason, it turns out. But as Data points out, hey, this could be literally hundreds of years from now that I go back in time. Maybe let's not worry just yet. Yeah,
because she says she compares it to a terminal illness, but it's really more just that he's got mortality.
Yes.
Because it could be any time. It's not like he's got 6 months to live and then it's over. I mean, it could be 10 minutes for all they know, but it could also be 100, 200, 500 years.
Right, which is exactly the point Data makes. It's more, it's less about, it's going to happen at this time. It's more just, no, it'll happen eventually. That's cool. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Which is a pretty healthy attitude.
Yeah, and I got a good chuckle as well, because Riker's talking to Troy about it. And I really liked that we got some scenes of just like other pairs of characters addressing this without Data in the scene. And these are characters we know are close, and he's getting kind of, crotchety. He's snapping a little bit, and she says, "Why, you're angry, aren't you?" She should know that, given her, empath abilities.
Yeah, she bloody hope so. If she can't tell when someone's angry, what's the point?
But he says, "Yeah, I am angry," and they start talking about why, and she quotes like, "Oh, this is what Data said about friendship," and I can't remember the exact terminology. It was a bit,
This is something about his neural pathways.
Sensors, something.
They start to expect it.
Yeah.
The friends are there, essentially, and then all of a sudden they're gone. And he notices the absence.
So what I liked about it, though, is Riker quoting this back to Data when he's talking about how he feels about Data, and Data just responds with, "Oh, that's very sweet, sir. Yes, I feel the same way too." Like, he just understands.
It's not even like he just goes, "Makes sense."
Yeah. It's because Data, this is still the sort of lack of human self-awareness that he doesn't have, that he's lacking, is that anyone else would go, "Wait, you said that exactly like I would, that's weird." But Data's like, "Oh, you're speaking sense. For the first time, Riker, you're speaking sense."
I think he was like, I understand. No part of you too.
Yeah, I really like those exchanges, and I enjoyed all those moments. Obviously, there's that one moment when Guinan's there. She's talking to, I think it's Geordi, after Data's left the scene, and he says what mission they're on and what they're going to do, and she just has the camera lingers on her. She has this look, and she says something about coming full circle, and it's like, oh, she knows. Like, she knows they're about to meet her in the past because she remembers this.
Yeah, and she obviously doesn't give too much away, but she's like, "Hey, Picard, you may want to get a little bit hands-on with this one, even if it's not strictly speaking protocol."
Yeah, this is later when Data's already went back, and they're prepping like it's not even a rescue mission. Like the main goal is still to solve whatever's happening with this alien species that we're going to be talking about in a bit. But she's like, "Picard, you should go on this mission, or we're never going to meet." And he's like, "Huh?"
He's like, yeah, okay, you're being pretty serious about this. I'll actually listen to you.
Well, they trust each other. They've got an old friendship going.
Picard knew, it seems.
Yeah, well, I'm curious, when we see how this wraps up, I might have more thoughts about how Picard, the show, deals with like Guinan in 2024.
Oh, okay. Because
now I'm thinking about it, Guinan did not recognize him. So So I'm curious to see exactly what interaction they have with each other.
Well, that's strange because she definitely implies,
yes,
strongly implies that that this will be their first meeting, like for her, right?
Yeah. Admittedly, we'll see how they handle it. We'll see how much of an interaction it is. We'll see.
It's possible it'll more just be, okay, she won't actually meet Picard, but because she meets Data and she's aware of the Enterprise, it'll set her on the path to meeting Picard, and she knows that will happen.
Yeah.
But she never actually sees him.
Yeah, it could be that. So I'll be paying attention to some of those details come season 6.
You just want another excuse to critique Picard, don't
episode 1. I've been having decent fun with the new season, to be honest. It's not been a bad time, but
any excuse you can get to slate modern Trek, you're gonna take it.
It's not up to the standard of good Next Generation. I'll say that much, okay? I'll say that. Yeah, and here's the thing: like the actual plot of the episode. So you've got like 3 parts of the episode, really. If to break it down, I think you've got Data's going to die. Here's his head. It somehow goes back in time, and everyone's reacting and feeling about that. I'd say that's one major element of the episode, and also it adds like an extra layer of Data might be in trouble, in jeopardy for the rest of the episode. The second part is obviously the time travel itself and going back in time and Data wandering around in the Wild West, as it were. I don't know if it's technically classed as the Wild West, but that's what I'm calling it.
It's the last days of the Wild West.
Yeah. It's
like 1890 something, so right at the tail end.
So that's what I'm going to, just for the quick term, that's what I'm calling it.
Yeah.
And then the other part is, and it's the reason why he goes back, and it's obviously the threat that's set up, but the reason why I think it's important to break it into a third part here is so they find this location that the evidence pointed to, and this actually, I don't know if it specifically references an episode from the original series, but it definitely brings up a concept from the original series, is the idea that there's people like out of sync in time, like they're in the same place but in a different time.
I'm assuming it is supposed to be a reference because they talk about how, oh hey, there's this one thing that we have a file on, right, and it leads them to the planet in the first place. So I'm assuming it is meant to be referencing that directly.
But I remember, when they started talking about it, I was, oh yeah, I remember that concept. That was a cool episode of the original series. And Data's figured out a way. He's like, hey, I've got something in my system, in my body. Because at first, Picard doesn't send him down. Picard's been a little protective. He's like, no, Data, you should be up on the Enterprise for this one. You don't go with them. And Data tries to talk him out of it, says, no, I should be on this. I'm always on the away missions because I'm there to protect everyone else, and I'm the science officer, I'm second officer, blah, blah, blah. All those little things, like, just to sort of build up the suspense of them worrying about Data. But he goes down and he's able to, like, go into the other, phase into the other sync, right? Sync up with the other beings that are there. So we can still hear him talking to everyone. So we get this great... And actually, this is a fantastic sequence of him just describing what he's seeing, and we can't see any of it, so we just see the reactions of everyone else listening to him. And he's describing, like, beings who are, like, 2 to 3 meters tall. They're silver. They have no...
A snake.
Yeah, there's no eyes or mouth on these beings, but they have, like, one opening where they seem to be, like, consuming things, and they're where we'd think the forehead would be, so their mouth's in their forehead, effectively.
Yeah, and we do see this later.
Later on, yeah, but not.
I don't think it's as effective as when we just hear about it.
No, not at all. But this sequence when he's describing it, I think, is wonderful. It's really mysterious. It's creepy. The way he's describing it, and then he starts talking about there's beings like coming back with a snake-like object or whatever, and then he sort of distorts and he disappears, and then of course we cut to him waking up in the past, and everyone thinks, oh, is that him gone now? Has he just went back in time? And obviously they assume that this may be what sent him back in time because it stands to reason. Yeah. So there's talk about, Riker really wants to save Data, and Picard's like, well, hopefully we can, but our priority here has to be, what are these beings doing? Because if they're traveling back in time to Earth's past, are they manipulating things? Are they going to mess the timeline up? Are they going to screw with things? We have to fix that. We have to stop them if that's what they're doing. So you've got this like alien threat part of the episode, which I think obviously is mainly at a focus during this section where Data does go back in time, but it also comes back in later when we get a glimpse of what they're doing and
even before we see them, because we get a little bit of an extra tease of them in the past. We know they're sinister. They seemingly abducted. I think it was like 5 or 6 people. Humans explicitly tells us they were humans from Earth, presumably from that time. and they died in terror.
They died in terror. One of the things Data describes is there's like a device that's giving them like this whatever they're consuming, whatever they're eating, is coming from this device. And later on, we find out that that's actually just like the people they're taking. Like they're just like putting them in a mincer effectively and eating them. Because we see like they can disguise themselves as humans in the past. So there's like they present themselves as a couple and they go up and like attack a homeless guy. They like, have like a laser beam that comes out of their like sort of period appropriate case, but it just shoots out a laser and they take him in. And we see them kind of coming back with him later. When the rest of the away team of Geordie's figured out a way so that multiple people can go back, and sure enough, they go out of sync with the phase, and they see them coming back. And luckily, though, they're not completely in sync with them, where these aliens can see them. They're still just sort of observers to what's going on.
Yeah, the way they put it, it made it sound like essentially human vision. Like the spectrum of light that we see is better than theirs, so that hey, we can see them, but they can't see us yet. Yeah,
which gives them an advantage, but you have to wonder how powerful they're going to be once they're aware of them. Like, are they going to be really strong, really fast?
Yeah, and obviously our crew don't know what to look for beyond beings, just because they're shapeshifters. So they're like, oh yeah, it could be anyone.
Yeah. And I agree, they don't look as good as what it sounded like when Data was just describing them. It was a lot creepier.
They don't look bad.
No.
And I think if we hadn't had that earlier sequence, I wouldn't even have thought about it. But actually seeing it, I get why we had to. And it helps. It helps us with that separation from Data again. It puts us firmly with the people as opposed to the android that Data is.
Yeah, in the moment we're worried about Data like they are. So like him doing this creepy unknown investigation, and we can't really help him. We can't see him to know that he's safe. Adds to the atmosphere.
But that's the problem. Is that it's too good a sequence that just seeing it later, I'm like, it doesn't live up in the end, even though it's perfectly fine.
Yeah. So all that stuff, because that's actually where the episode ends. It's just like this portal door, if you want to call it, into the past, where the aliens walked out of. The crew say, well, let's go in. Picard leads them in. Let's go. Like, let's solve what this problem is. So they go into the past, which is kind of ballsy when they're not entirely sure if this door is going to open again for them later to come back. But
they'll figure something out. They always do.
Bit on the risky side, but they sure enough they go in. But obviously we've glossed over all the Data stuff in the past, which is where a big meaty part of the episode is.
It's a lot of the fun stuff.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of stuff where Data obviously sticks out like a sore thumb. They think he looks pale. One person assumes that he's French, so he just kind of goes with that. And every time someone's confused by who he is, he's like,
I'm a Frenchman.
I'm a Frenchman, yeah.
And I love that everyone's like, yeah, sure, that makes sense. That's what we expect from Frenchmen.
Honestly, probably the other big laugh of this episode is when he's trying to talk to the bellboy about staying at the hotel. And the bellboy's saying, well, you need money. And he's like, I don't have any money. He's like, well, I'm very capable of doing things. Can I get a job? And he's like, well, we already have, like, a cook. We already have, the maid. I do all the other things. Like, there's not really anyone else there. And then this guy stumbles out. He's like, oh, he's had hard luck, in poker. Yeah, the way Data's face lights up when he goes, poker? Oh,
that I can do.
I'm about to take them for everything they're worth.
That's good. I think the funnier moment is after the poker game. Where he walks into the room with the vest and the hat.
Oh, yeah. I really liked it when he goes out to the poker game and he says he's French. There's one guy there that can speak French and he's like, I'm going to test it. I don't trust him. And Data, because he's Data, he knows every Earth language, just fires back in perfect French.
And the dude's like, good enough for me.
Oh, well.
Come join the game.
Fair enough. And he sells his Star Trek emblem, so he's got a starting pot of money.
$3.
Which at the time is quite expected, because the bellboy, he's like excited when he gets $1 for a tip. I mean, it takes a long time to get that dollar a day.
That was worth it.
But he's like, $1? Oh, yeah. Baby. So
yeah, I think he said it was something like $4 a week to stay in the hotel.
Yeah,
I feel like that was somewhere in there. I don't remember exactly, but just for some context, I mean, he sells it for like $3.
I mean, and what's a sort of cheap to medium hotel a night now? Like, probably up to about $100 a night.
Less than that. This is a not this isn't just a terrible place, right? This is a reasonable.
Sure.
In a small town, but it's not like a little trashy dive.
Okay. Well, even if it's 50, the point is four a week to 50 a night is. I'm just pointing out the inflation. Okay, that's all.
Yes, there has been a lot of inflation in 130 odd years.
That's all I'm saying. Okay.
There's been a lot of inflation in the last 130 odd days.
The point I was trying to make is I was trying to work out from the price of the room per week how much $1 and a tip was. Like, the point being is this is like 2 nights of staying in a hotel's cost now. Is he just gotten a tip, right?
Yes.
So that's what I'm trying to say.
It was a big tip, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, he starts playing the game, he deals, and then it just cuts to him walking into the room, and he's got this, fancy waistcoat on, and, this big hat, and it's just like, oh, how much did he take him for?
I love that, because he had to take that from one of the other players. He took their vest, he took their hat.
Yeah.
It's not like there's a gift. It's not like there's a poker gift shop in there where he went up halfway through the game and bought himself the attire. He took that from them.
Yeah. They ran out of things to stake and they were like, have this.
So yeah, so he wants to build a device. Obviously, he's trying to build a device to help him. His situation, he's building a device to either communicate through time, find aliens, what's going on, whatever it is he's doing.
We don't actually know what exactly it's for just yet. He's very... he's intentionally vague about it with the bellboy, because obviously, but it's a smart way for the episode to keep us in the dark as well.
Yeah, I think probably the general, if I was to stake a guess on it, I would probably say it's something, it's like a message that'll sort of like stay there. He'll create some sort of message that'll be picked up in the future or something like that.
I'm more inclined to go the other way. I'm more inclined to say it's more about finding the aliens and fulfilling his mission, because I think it's easy enough for him to leave a message in a bottle. He knows where all the artifacts are going to be found.
That's true. Yeah, he could literally just leave a message in his own head if he really wanted to.
Which, I mean, the fact that he didn't find it when he was examining his own head means he probably didn't. True. The point is, I think that would be the easiest way for him to leave a message for the Enterprise if he really wanted to.
Yeah, that's fair. And you suspect that he's going to cross paths with these aliens, given that seemingly he lost his head in some sort of fight with them at some point in this time period.
It would appear so, yeah.
Yeah. Of course, that's not leaving the opportunity open that they change the future and now his head will never be back there. But, these possibilities are all open. But, yeah, so fun stuff with all that. I thought he had good chemistry with the bellboy. His excitement and just like, yeah, it's an engine of one of those new fancy horseless carriages. Yes, it's one of those things.
Yeah, the kid's like, so what is it? And Dad's like, what do you think it is?
Yeah, I love them playing with the humor. I mean, it's always just the fish out of water time stuff, but when he's like, do you think there's money in those horseless carriages? Do you think there's a place for them?
Yeah, and Data doesn't even like answer it. He just kind of brushes over it.
Yeah, so all that's entertaining stuff, but of course then he sees Guinan in the newspaper, and at this point it's not a surprise because at this point in the episode she's already had the conversation with Picard, so it's pretty heavily hinting like she's going to be in the time period.
We were expecting something. Obviously he's not, but we are.
Yeah, so he sees Guinan in the newspaper. She's at some sort of fancy get together in town, so he goes in there. The guy tries to stop him, obviously, but he's just going to walk through. He's like, yeah, call the police. I don't care. I'm dead.
Yeah, so I'll just go wait in there while they come.
I have to go talk to Guinan. And Mark Twain is just kind of casually sauntering around.
Why not?
Speaking about philosophy and about how there's, Earth's the only planet with life on it and all the rest of it.
Guinan's just there going, yep, sure.
Yep. And of course, Guinan, when Data comes in and speaks to her, she doesn't know who he is. But then when he says he's from a starship, she's like, oh, I have to speak to you in private, because clearly you know more about the world and what's going on in the universe than these assholes do, so let's go and talk somewhere else.
I love how she gives him like one look over and she goes, what are you? Yeah. And he's like, yeah, android, don't worry about it, it's cool.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, we're going to serve on a ship together, and like, this is basically the end of the story for their part of the episode. But the big thing being that Mark Twain, not his real name, obviously. I actually wasn't, because they called him something else. I didn't know what his real name was. So
yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah, Clemens, Samuel Clemens.
Get you.
Well,
looking it up.
I checked.
I can see you looking over.
But yeah, so he eavesdrops and hears some stuff that he's not meant to have heard, clearly.
No, but maybe he'll find some snake.
Maybe.
Maybe
Well,
it'll be important.
Well, this is a real person. They can't just kill him off before he's supposed to die. Unless he died under mysterious circumstances and they're having fun with it, but I don't know how he died.
I don't either, but I suspect probably not that, or we'd know.
Yeah, that'd be too good a story.
We'd have seen that done before.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it would be like a DB Cooper thing, but it would be something that would come up every so often.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. One thing that a lot of our audience is probably learning right now is that Mark Twain, I believe, is taught a lot in American high schools. UK high schools, not so much.
Not a thing. I don't think I've ever read anything.
No, I have to do 5 bloody Shakespeare plays though over the course of
I like
4
Shakespeare.
Years. Some variety would be nice though.
We had some variety. We had Macbeth, obviously. We had Romeo and Juliet. We had.
That's not variety.
We had Much Ado About Nothing.
That's a lot of Shakespeare. I had to go through 4 or 5 Shakespeare plays, and I'm like, what about all the other things we could be studying?
They're varied Shakespeare plays.
Shut up.
What was most people I know seem to read Of Mice and Men, but I didn't do that one. I did Lord of the Flies.
I thought, do you know what's funny? I remember I was watching Of Mice and Men, the movie, in English. I don't remember actually having to read the book though, which is weird.
Every class in my year at school did Of Mice and Men except my class, which did Lord of the Flies. And everyone else I've ever spoken to, in like, from people of all different ages of me, different parts of the country, they're all like, yeah, Mice and Men. I'm like, I never did. I must be one of the only people in the country who's not read it at this point, because
my class never did Macbeth because another class was doing it at the same time, and there's only so many of the books, so we had to do Hamlet instead.
Hamlet's alright. It's not as good as Macbeth.
So I never had to suffer through Macbeth, but I did suffer through Hamlet. So
Macbeth is great.
Anyway, so the point I'm making is that not our area of expertise. Very much. Not even a casual remembering things from school.
Literally have no knowledge whatsoever.
No. I know the reports of my death have been greatly exaggerated. That's a Mark Twain quote. That's all I know. That's all.
Is it, or is that one of those ones that's just misattributed to it?
Oh, I don't know, but Matt said it was a Mark Twain quote. I'm just going to trust Matt on this.
It's a ballsy move.
Yeah, but honestly, this episode is a really good mix of a lot of different things. It's got your sci-fi stuff with the time travel and all those elements. It's got a lot of good comedy because of the character interactions and the time travel kind of contributing to that, and Data being in all these situations. But it's got some genuine character, drama because they're scared about Data's death and they're dealing with that. And then on top of that, you've got the great mystery of how they introduce the idea of these aliens and
how they're going to get around in the end.
Yeah, and even the way that they come after the homeless guy, they do it, they shoot it quite creepy. Like this couple who just stand there silently and then beam him with something. They are quite creepy.
And it's a lot of in silhouette, really heavy shadows over their faces.
Yeah, they hide their face, not in a way where they're trying to hide their identity, but just in a way that's no, these are creepy people, and they're not someone we're going to get to know on a personal level, because they have no personality. That's kind of the point. They're just these evil beings,
terrifying things at the moment.
I mean, not necessarily evil. Maybe this is just them. That's just how they feed. They're hunting their natural prey, but there's some time shenanigans going on, so they must be stopped.
Yes, pretty much. But yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed the episode. I'm really looking forward to the second half, because it is very much a case of, well, I want the rest now.
Oh, for sure. Joe, what's funny is that obviously seasons 3 to 4, you had the big Borg cliffhanger, right, with Picard. Last time it was the Worf kind of family, personal Klingon stuff over that 2-parter. I think with this one, it's interesting that they've chosen another character to focus on. In this case, it's more of a Data-centric 2-parter, which is cool that they're kind of cycling through the major characters. But I think this one just comes across as just the most fun to me, even though it still has some serious threat and some serious character drama as well. This one feels like, well, we're just going to have some fun with this two-parter, as opposed to, and be playful with the sci-fi, as opposed to the really heavy character stuff that Worf had, or with Picard, which was very sci-fi, don't get me wrong, because it was Borg. It was very, like, traumatic and dark, and like, oh, like, we might have lost Picard.
This doesn't feel like it's going to have long-lasting repercussions for Data in the same way that some of those things did for Worf and Picard on a personality, like character level. Data's going to come out of this being still more or less Data as we know him, whereas Worf and Picard will very much change people by the end of those episodes. And
I think what I'm saying though is that I appreciate, I'm not necessarily saying it's better than those, but I appreciate that it's different because it feels more refreshing because of that.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like, oh, guess it's the end of the season again.
Yeah, we're doing something. Other than the fact that it was a to be continued, which when it said to be continued, like, of course, it's you bastards.
We did have one in the middle of this season, right? That was two-part.
I think we did, yeah. But but it's very much that end of season, go into next season thing that TNG likes to do. And I think a lot of TV shows in the 90s and 2000s did kind of follow this mold.
Yeah, it was pretty standard. I think we've gone away from it in the last few years, mainly because people get cancelled between seasons and people want to be able to sell a complete package to Netflix or wherever for long-term, sustainability, and those sell better if you have an ending.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't every show. I mean, because, Buffy was mid-90s and that didn't do it. That had clean, neat finishes for all its seasons. Maybe with a little tease at the end, but for the main story was always, like, finished in the final episode.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't like everything. It was very mix and match. But just another teen. I hate to bring it up, but Smallville definitely did this end of season cliffhanger every season.
Oh yeah.
That was very much its thing.
And again, it's not even an inherently bad thing. Like, I'm not saying that Smallville has problems. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's fair to say that's one of them. It's just it was a product of network TV at the time that a lot of it just went that route, and that was a perfectly fine choice to do. It was normal. You just accepted it.
Yeah. So, but as I say, I enjoyed the episode quite a bit. I think I had a little bit of everything I like in my Trek, and as a result, I felt very full, despite the fact that it was only half the story. Which credit to it.
Yeah, it's a challenging ask, that.
Yeah. So I like all the things I've set up, and I'm looking forward to the next part. But of course, before we get to the next part, because that's not what we're doing next time. We're not doing season 6 episode 1. That's not the next episode of these reviews. The next episode is our top 5 episodes of season 5, along with the worst 3 as a little bonus.
Yeah, which I'm sure we'll get out as quickly as we can once my new mic stand arrives. Yeah.
Oh, we almost went the whole way without bringing up the fact that your mic stand was being held up by tape.
It is. I posted some pictures on Twitter, some behind the scenes footage of duct tape is the best thing in the world.
It's a miracle that it's not just fallen down halfway through the recording.
I really thought it was going to.
Yes, well, at least if it happens now, I'm about to outro, so it's fine.
Well, that's why I left it to here. I was like, I'm going to wait till we get to the end because I don't want to jinx it. I trust duct tape. I don't trust it that much.
Yeah. That said, though, I will. Actually, I want to read the description for the next one since it's just the second half of this.
No.
Nah. It is called Time Zero Part 2, but the first one wasn't called Part 1. So it was
just retroactively, like, it's Part 1 now.
They swerved us. They didn't want us to know it was going to be a 2-parter. But now, obviously, it is a 2-parter, so they'll tell us in the second part.
Yeah. Kind of have to at that point.
You sneaky little bastards. How dare you? So, yeah, we won't read the next one like we normally do, because it is the second half of a 2-parter, which just feels like we don't need it. So, but yeah, cool. All right, so next time we will do our top 5 episodes. And it's a shared list. We sit and we debate and we come up with what the top 5 is. We'll do that next time.
I don't remember, like, without looking, I have no idea what this list is going to look like just yet.
Yeah, we always get the list of episodes up and go through and say, okay, what were the good ones that are kind of on the short list, and then we decide, okay, which ones feel like what we're more passionate about, what deserves to go at the top, and we'll see how that goes. But that's next time before we go to season 6. And what's exciting about getting into season 6 is that's when, not right away, it's halfway through the season, but by the end of season 6 we will be bouncing back and forth with a second show that was running concurrently in Deep Space Nine. So,
but the first time we've gotten to do that since working through all of Trek so far.
Yeah, we knew it was coming though. But we knew it was going to build up to it, and then it's going to be like that until Deep Space Nine ends, because once next gen ends, Voyager takes its place. And
is it like an immediate pickup, or is there a slight delay?
I'm just vaguely from memory, but I think it is like the next season. So it's there's no.
Okay, cool.
Obviously, there's some time at the end when Voyager's on its own because it started later than Deep Space Nine did. But
yeah,
but yeah. So yeah, let us know what you thought of Time's Arrow Part 1. Maybe hard though without spoiling Part 2, so maybe you'll wait till the next one. But by all means, comment, like, subscribe, ding the bell for notifications, all that stuff. Get us on the Twitters at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the show, you can do that over at patreon.com/mailfuzztv for as little as $1 per month and get some bonuses. The $5 tier, you get the Trek reviews as well, the Twilight Zone reviews, and the Babylon 5 reviews. You get them about a week early, 6 days, 7 days, around that. So go and have a look and see if you're interested. But there's other bonuses as well for some of the other content, so please do have a look. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching Star Trek, and if only we could go back in time and accidentally erase Wesley Crusher from existence.